This is the Be One Change One podcast, where our mission is to help listeners define values, practice integrity, and inspire change.
Our vision is to mentor men and empower them to achieve more by taking responsibility for shaping their own lives.
He's CAS, an evolving man who has been shaped by adversity and continues to grow through his imperfections.
And he's Roscoe, an imperfect work in progress that tries to suck less every day.
Between us, we have over 40 years of Air Force fighter pilot experience with countless hours as trainers, instructors, and mentors.
Join us and learn to take responsibility for your own life as we dive into subjects from leadership to resilience to vulnerability.
Be the one who changes their course. Be decisive, driven, and purposeful. Set the example for others. Lead. We wish we'd had this show when we were younger men.
Be the one. All right, ones. Welcome back to the Be One Change One podcast. Roscoe and I just had a lengthy pregame.
Yeah, and I was just about to say that was like a 30-minute pregame.
That was a long pregame. And what we wanted to talk about today was just, when we were coming up in the Air Force, there are certain things that you learn just through the process of the military, the bureaucracy, the organization, the roles that you fit and play in. And so today I was just going to talk about kind of the big three things that I used to express to guys. And the thing that prompted me for this, honestly, Roscoe, was I got an email from a B Corps student of mine when I was the DO in the 308, who's at American Airlines now. I think he might be flying for the Swamp Foxes, but I'm not sure.
What are the Swamp Foxes? Explain.
He's still flying Vipers, but I think he's in the Guard in South Carolina. And but at American, they have a program where they basically bring guys, in off the street, or guys that maybe just have a private pilot's license or a commercial pilot's license, and they put them through their own little training course and get them off to a regional. They get them through their ratings, get them off to a regional, and then they come back and they interview with American once they have the hours they need. And he's like an advisor or a coach or a mentor to a bunch of these kids. And so he sent me this email and he's like, "Hey, Cass, I just wanted to let you know that I used one of your big three on my mentees." And he's like, and the one that he used was my number one, which is embrace the suck. So I thought it might be it's a good conversation to have. I think these things are very palatable. They're very transferable to multiple facets of life. There are things that I've taught, and he knew this because I sat his B course class down in like their first or second week in the squadron and was like, "All right, dude, here's the big three," right? And so the big three are embrace the suck, you can't fix stupid, and never go. And this is a total throw to Tropic Thunder. If you haven't seen it, please watch it. Never go full retard. So let's start with embrace the suck.
All right. I literally, I had to tell Caleb this. In fact, you've got my book titled "Embrace the Suck."
Yeah,
it's on your bookshelf in the podcast room. I had to tell Caleb this when he was in field training a couple months ago, and he was talking about how they got their phones taken away and they're eating MREs for a couple of days, and it's hot and it's sweaty, and
and
I was like, Caleb, yeah, but here's the thing: it's like that for everyone. You're not a unique snowflake, right? The in a football game, it's not just raining on your side of the field; it's raining on everybody. Like the ball's getting wet for both people, so you have to embrace that, and that's how you overcome things in a lot of ways. Is you have to look at it for what it is and stop fucking complaining about it, right? And stop bitching about the shit that you can't control, and you just have to say, "Yep, this fucking sucks." Like going out for a run when it's 100 degrees.
Yeah,
I mean, if it's fucking raining. Like everybody's getting rained on at the baseball game, right?
Yeah.
So just embrace it and have fun with it. And Katie and I, there might be video out there of Katie and I getting up and dancing in the rain.
Yeah. Well, and that's just it. Like the key to that is don't get caught up in or worry about the things that you can't control. Even if you're in a place right now professionally, I mean, there were times in my Air Force career where I had great leadership. And there were times in my Air Force career where I had horrible leadership. In those moments where maybe leadership isn't that great, or maybe you're just grinding, man. Maybe there's a goal out in front of you that you're striving towards, but there's all this other minutia that you have to drive through, that you have to go through before you get there. That's embracing the suck, right? It's okay, I know this sucks right now, but it's temporary, right? Like this is just the stuff that I have to get through if I want to realize that goal that's out in front of me, right? Like officer training school sucked. It was not fun being away from my family for 4 months, being yelled at on a regular basis every day for hours on end every day with no sleep, and just getting beat down. It sucks. But that was the necessary evolution that I had to go through in order to go to pilot training, right? And so, and you can sit there and you can hem and haw and you can moan and you can bitch and you can complain and you can do all these things around it, or you can just go, fuck it. This is what it is, right? So I'm going to make the best of it that I can. I'm going to laugh when things are funny, I may not laugh out loud, but I'm going to snicker a little bit and go, oh, this is stupid. I'll never forget, like, one of the things. So here's me using embrace the suck, resistance training. Okay, right? So every fighter pilot has to go to resistance training.
And was saying
POW MIA training. And dude, it sucks. Like, without saying too much, you're in this camp for a couple of days and it sucks, right? And they're doing all kinds of shit to you that is not fun and not enjoyable. But one of the things that I found hilarious was, do you remember what we were supposed to do? I don't know if it was the same for you, but when I went through, when you like crossed the guards or whatever, you were supposed to like bend down like all the way and like almost touch your toes to like show deference
like
to them.
Deference, like bowing.
And I was just, and to me, I was just like, this is the funny. This is one. It's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever done in my life. But two, I'm basically shining my ass to these guys every time I walk by them. And I'm like, yeah, dude, I'll do that. Like, I'll totally shine my ass to you, right? Like, fuck it, this is fun, right? Yeah, here, motherfucker, you suck. Here's my asshole, right? I mean, it was just so they're like, that's just what you have to do sometimes. Is you have to embrace the suck. You have to realize that, hey, man, maybe things are going to suck for a little bit, but it doesn't have to affect how you approach what you do. It doesn't have to affect how you approach your effort or your output or what you're going to put into a task, right? You can still shine. You can still do above and beyond in those instances. You can still set yourself apart by just maintaining a good attitude, because you're embracing the fact that, yeah, it sucks right now, but so what? Like, it sucks, but I still have a job to do. I'm still in this. I'm still invested in this, and I'm still going to do the best that I can.
Well, I think you nailed it right there at the end when you talked about the attitude piece. And on an individual level, the goals that you set, if you're setting goals that are easy, then I say you probably need to reevaluate some of those. Right. I think your goals should be slightly audacious. I think your goals should be something that's right now, present Roscoe, that goal is just slightly, maybe just a little bit out of reach, right? Gives you something to work for, right? Gives you a hurdle to get across. And Ryan Holiday has this really good book called The Obstacle is the Way. He's like a modern day Stoic, and he takes a lot of his inspiration from Marcus Aurelius. And in that book, he talks about like, there's this thing in front of you, and like, what are you going to do? You walk up to the mountain and you go, well, I mean, am I going to turn around? I mean, you can go over it, or through it, but you got to get past it somehow, right? So the obstacle becomes the way. And the beauty of that is like that obstacle in your way forces you to do things like planning and research and preparation. And sometimes you have to build up to being able to go over the mountain. Sometimes you have to go buy new shoes or new AirPods or whatever it might be, right? Figure out your hydration nutrition plan for your half marathon. So on an individual level, that would be something that would help me, I guess, get through that just psychologically, is knowing going into it that it's probably going to suck a little bit. It's supposed to, by nature. If you're setting your goals just slightly out of your comfort zone, it's going to suck to get there sometimes. There's going to be those moments in there where you doubt yourself and where things get hard and where it gets hot and sticky and sweaty and muddy, right? In a group setting, that's where I do what you did, and I just kind of look around and laugh. I'm like, every other motherfucker here is miserable as shit
Yeah,
too.
that's
So if I
right.
can bring some levity to it, then I think we're all winning, right? If I can boost my own attitude just a little bit to just to the right side of happiness, then maybe I can bring a couple of these people along with me, and we can have a couple of laughs. Laughter can get you, and there's a reason. Excuse me. There's a reason that military people are like the champions of dark humor and gallows humor. And that's a lot of it, man, is because
Yeah,
some
it
of the
is.
things that we do just really fucking suck. And that
Yeah.
dark humor is what gets us through. And some of those jokes that you talk about in the life support room or back in the vault or maybe even over the radio a couple of times, those aren't the jokes that you share with your wife, right? Those are the
Yeah.
jokes for the bros that help you get through those moments and periods of darkness.
Well, and I agree with you too, like on a personal level, like, yeah, you just have to embrace the fact that whatever this period is going to suck a little bit. If you don't like school and you're going to school because you need a certain certification, it may, yeah, dude, guess what? You're not going to want to do the
Yeah.
work, right? You're going to sit there when it's time to sit down at the computer to do your stuff and go, I don't want to do this because this sucks. So what? Like, if you want to get to that goal at the end of if you want to get to that thing at the end of the line, at the end of the tunnel, it's just what you have to do, right? Sometimes we got to do hard things. And oh, by the way, you're capable of doing hard things. But it's mentality and it's discipline. And on a person like a great example of that is fitness as well, right? Like, dude, if you're out of shape and you want to get in shape, that first 6 to 8 weeks is gonna suck. You're going to feel tired. You're going to feel sore, but instead of sitting in bed going, I'm too sore, I'm not going to go work out today, recognize, like, embrace that. Go, hey, dude, I'm sore because I'm making my muscles do things that
Yeah.
they haven't done
I'm sore for
in
a
a
reason.
very,
Yeah.
yeah, right. And so whether you're exercising your mind or your muscles or whatever it is, just get to a place where you can be comfortable in that uncomfortable, like we talk about, right? You've got to embrace it. There's periods of your life that are going to suck, socially, personally, romantically, professionally, and you have options. And one option is to curl into the fetal position on the floor and go, oh, this sucks, woe is me. And the other one is to embrace it and push through it and figure out what you can take away from it and how you can get better in that process, and what are the things that I need to do to get to that next step or to that next goal, right? That's the embrace the suck piece of it.
Yeah. So this is the power, though. There's power in writing down your goals and making it bold and setting yourself these little reminders, in your personal space, in your workspace. Like, if you dream of being an airline pilot, then go print out a picture of a Southwest 737 and tape it to the back of your door so that you see it every time you leave. And when you're in those doldrums, right, that bathtub, that marathon in the middle, where it really just, like, you can't see the finish line, you're so far away from the start line that you can't even see that anymore. Things just kind of suck right now, right? But those are the little reminders for me that remind me why I'm on this path, and I have little things just kind of stashed. And it's, for me now at this point where I'm at, it's something small, like a trinket or, like, the lid to my vitamins or something like that. It's something very benign. You probably wouldn't even notice if you walked back here, but I notice it. And it reminds me, yeah, man, like, your ankles are sore for a reason. You have a goal. It's 4 fucking months away. It's a long ways away, but guess what, man? You're doing the right things, right? Keep just stick with it and keep pushing, and you're going to be okay.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, man. There's great ways to continue to motivate yourself. And like when I was a kid growing up, man, I had pictures of fighters all over my bedroom. And now as an adult man, I have pictures of all the fighters that I flew in different squadrons all over my office, right? So that's the transition, right? That's the end result of all of the stuff that we did to embrace the suck when we had to, in order to get to where we wanted to be. So
Yeah, and guess what, though? When you're sitting in there, because I do the same thing back here, man. You've been back here, and everything on my walls back here, there's a memory behind it,
yeah,
right? I just sit here sometimes with
friends,
the TV.
relationships.
the TV and the lights off, and I just sit here and stare at, like, I'm looking at my lithos over here, and I can tell you a story from each one of them. And guess what? You don't remember, like, you don't sit there and dwell on all those,
No,
those times when, like, I don't sit around and think about how shitty OTS was. I think
no.
about all the fun stories,
Yep.
about hiding my chew under my bed and popping a big lipper in before PT and trying to run 3 miles with a dip in. Those are the fun stories that I remember. I don't
Yeah.
give a shit about how crappy the food was or how it
Yeah.
rained when we were in formation that day. Nobody gives a shit
Right.
about that.
Well, and it's just, and the thing I think to stress to folks too is, yeah, it may be crappy now, but it's only crappy for a time, right? Like
It's
if
for a
you
season,
push,
exactly.
yeah, there's a season to it. And if you push through it and you stay focused and you stay dedicated to the task and you stay focused on the goal, whatever that goal may be, and you're doing those things, you're doing the preparation, you're doing the goal planning, and checking in and making sure that you're getting closer to where you want to be and making the changes you need to make. Like, and dudes, I get it. Like, none of it's fun and and a lot of it's really hard, right? But what you get on the backside of that is so much better than giving into the complaining, giving into the woe is me, giving into the, well, this is just too hard. This environment's not right for me. Whatever the excuse is, right? Like, what's at the end of that if you just continue to stay on task and push through is so much better. And then, like you're saying, dude, you don't remember all the stupid, I mean, you do a little bit, but you don't remember all the stupid shit. You remember all the good stuff. And the other thing too is you learn so much more about yourself in the process than you would have otherwise when you actually find a way to push through. When you embrace the suck and actually find a way to just fucking drive forward, put your nugget down, left foot, right foot, and get through it, you build skills. All the skills we talk about, you build resiliency skills, you build other skills that you need that are moving you forward and towards whatever that end state objective is, right? And you miss the opportunity to do all that if you just go, oh, this is too much, this is too hard, this sucks. And you play and it's the victim game, right? It's the, oh, well, the environment wasn't right, or the people around me weren't right, or, oh, I had really bad leadership, so I couldn't really promote myself or really move forward in this environment. Whatever the case may be, it's all excuses to a certain extent. Not to say that it's not difficult, and not to say that there aren't situations where maybe some of those things could be true, but you still have a choice to make, right? And that's how are you going to approach the process? And it goes back to what we talk about all the time, right? Focus on the process, not the outcome. Don't worry about all the external factors. What can you control? What can you drive forward and move out?
That was really long. There's a lot to unpack there.
Sorry.
No, I'm going
was
to go
on a
all the way
rant.
back to when we were talking about the seasons, right? And I think if you view it as seasonal, this plight that you perceive that yourself is in, that was bad grammar. I don't think yourself is the right word there. Anyways,
I don't think "is" was the right word, but it's okay. Just
whatever.
press.
Like Bill Clinton, can you define is? So, but that implies something, and the implication is that you are moving, right?
Yes.
If you're one of these types of people who in your life you are sort of stagnant or caught up in a rut, then maybe the first step is let's step off, right? Let's do some goal planning. Let's I don't know, come up with something to at least get you into motion, right? And it could be any facet of your life. You can start small, and what I find too, man, is, and now granted, you and I, we do have an advantage because for decades of our life we were sort of forced to do this, right? You can't exactly tell the military no a lot of times.
True, but I wasn't forced when I came back to take care of my mom to go back to school and finish my degree.
I'm talking about specifically about our military service.
Okay.
Right now. All right. So for a couple of decades, we were kind of voluntold to do this process. I don't think a lot of people are in that situation. So a lot of this has to be self-motivated, right?
It is.
You have to be goal oriented. You have to sort of like kick yourself into gear. Whereas maybe we had an advantage of people making us do this for so long that we just kind of got used to it, and so I don't want to be numb to that,
Sure.
to the listeners who weren't privy to that environment.
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
true.
And the other thing, you were talking about, you're talking about victimhood and complaining and whatnot. And I was just watching a NASCAR race this weekend. Right. And
Shocker.
it sounds stupid, but I'm telling you, man, you can find examples of these things in almost everything, dude, from every interview that we've done to discussions around your house. And if you're perceptive, you can see it I saw it in a NASCAR race. This driver is about halfway through the race. This driver is complaining about everybody slamming into his car, and his car's not handling good because he's back in like 23rd position, and the air's so dirty back there. He's lost the handling on his car and whatnot. And he's complaining. He ends up wrecking, and he's out of the race. And so they take him to the infield care center. And old Kim Kuhn, Miss NASCAR, used to be Miss NASCAR, Miss Sprint Cup. She goes over there to interview him, and by the time he got done with that, I don't know if he talked to his PR person or if he just had time to swallow hard and take a deep breath. But he goes, "Yeah, it was completely our fault. If we would have qualified better on Saturday, we wouldn't have been stuck back there in 23rd position with our car handling like shit. We'd have been in the top 5 in clean air, and our car would have handled great." So yeah, and that kind of goes into that, that victimhood piece that you were talking about. Like, own your shit, man, and you have to embrace that part of it, right? Because he didn't qualify well, he ends up getting back beaten and banging, and ends up out of the race.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you another example. We were watching F1 this weekend, and Charles Leclerc, Ferrari, he's on the pole, and they start the race, and dude, he's running away. Like, the car's performing awesome. First 20 laps or so, he's just blowing. He's just going, right? And now, in his defense, it came out that the chassis actually broke at some point, like at lap 40. So he ended up finishing 4th. But like 20 laps in, he's like on the radio, and he's already bitching about issues with the car. There's no way we're going to finish on pole. And I looked at Alicia and I go, he's not going to finish on pole. Even if nothing changed with the car.
Oh, he's been defeatist.
He's not going to finish on pole. And the reason why is because he's already convinced himself that he's not going to finish on pole. There's so much wrong with the car.
Yeah.
It's not doing what he wants to do, right? Instead of just fighting through it, right? Instead of just going, okay, here's what's happening right now. What do I need to adjust to maintain this position? What do I need to adjust to stay on pole, right? What do I need to adjust to be in the top 3, right? That wasn't the conversation that he's having with his team. The conversation he's having with his team is, this is awful. We need to talk about this more. You guys made changes to the car I'm not sure I agree with. We're going to lose this race because of it. Like, he had, at lap 20, he had lost the race.
Isn't that so true, though, about the positive or negative self-talk?
Yeah,
right?
It is.
I mean,
right?
take that example. Instead of talking to your team, and have that conversation with yourself.
Yeah.
You're not going to finish this half marathon cast because, at mile 3, you had a big hill climb and it really gassed you, and you redlined your heart rate, and you're just like, oh, fuck, I'm done. I'm never going to finish. Instead of going, okay, how do I fix this? Let me back it down a little bit. Let me recapture my pace, get my heart rate down a little bit, take some water and cool a little. If there's an aid station, I'll throw a water over my head to try to cool myself down a little bit. Like, there's ways to fix this, right?
Yeah.
Instead of getting mired in that negative defeatist attitude, you look for the ways to fix the problem. And again, man, and this is another notch or feather in our cap. Because of what we did for a profession for so long, I think that we just had so many reps at doing that. Like, we're problem solvers. We're not good at a lot of things, but fucking solving problems, man, we can do it. And we do it really quick, and we do it with no reverse option in a lot of ways. Not everybody's built like that. And that's tough, and that's a tough thing, I think, to learn if you're not in a structured environment, a high pressure structured environment like we were in. So how do you get it? How do you do it? Well, you practice. right? You practice, you start small, and you practice, and you start setting small goals, and you push through it, and you embrace that sucky period. And there's going to be some depression mixed in there. Back to your exercise example. You're 6 to 9 weeks into this thing. Everything hurts. You haven't seen any gains yet because you haven't been at it long enough. Your times haven't decreased or your poundage hasn't increased. Like, you just haven't gotten to the point where you're seeing any results, but everything hurts and it fucking sucks right now. That's that bottom, right? That's that depression piece. And that's the time when most people quit. Why do all these New Year's resolutions end up quitting in February? Because of this right here. Exactly because of this. And instead of going, well, this fucking sucks, this isn't worth it, I guess fitness just ain't for me. No, man, I promise. Chug it out for another 4 weeks, dude. When you hit that 3-month mark, that's when things are really going to start to take off for you. And if you quit before that, man, you were so close and you missed.
Dude, I've been there. The alarm goes off at 4:00 in the morning because I got to go out and run before it's 100 degrees in Phoenix. I don't want to get up. I don't want to roll my ass out of bed and go run for 10 or 12 miles. It's already hot out. It's like 84 degrees already, right? I don't want to do it.
Which by Phoenix standards in the summer is not hot at all.
Not bad. Yeah, not bad. It's not 91.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I don't want to do it. But I make myself because I'm not going to be able to achieve the goal that I have for myself in this next half marathon if I don't put the mileage in. I'm not going to be, and dude, I'll tell you what, 80% of the time I go for a run and it sucks. I finish it and I'm like, that fucking sucked. My time sucked. I feel like shit. It sucks. But it's supposed to suck. It's, when you're in training and you're running a ton, you don't have the energy to push like you can on race day when you've had a taper week and you haven't run a bunch and all your muscles have recovered and you're hydrated and your nutrition plan's on point and everything's going the way it should, right? Like, it sucks. And you get done and you're like, this is horrible. I suck. This is not going to work. I'm not going to meet my goal. That's not the point. The point is put the mileage in. Do the work. Stick to the process. The process will get you where you need to be. The process will give me the outcome that I'm hoping for in September, right? So you just got to do it. Yeah, embrace the suck.
Yeah. And I mean, this sounds really bad, and hopefully I can explain it away to where it doesn't sound so bad, but you might suck. I mean,
yeah, it may not go well.
In the pregame, you and I were talking about what I did this weekend and the times that I put down and everything. And if I went out there and set a goal of like a 2-hour half, I'm going to be severely disappointed, unless I'm taking like 2 years to build up to it. But in the time frame that I've allotted myself,
you got to be realistic with your goals.
Yeah. So you might suck. You might not be a runner. You might not be a weightlifter. Like if I said, I'm gonna work up and I'm gonna bench press 300 pounds, dude. Look at me, tall, fucking skinny white boy. I'm not a 300-pound bench presser. All right. I don't care how many roids I take. I'm probably not going to get there. I suck at weightlifting. I've accepted that, and I do what's in my. I do what I can, and I'm preparing myself for the goals that I've set, and I'll leave it at that. But I don't get disappointed at the things that limit me, either physically, intelligently, or emotionally. I work around them. I work through them. I work over them. And I eventually get to the goal, right? I don't have to meet the goals that I've set. I don't have to bench press 300 pounds. If I can do 20 push-ups, I'm doing pretty good, right? I don't need to be able to do 50 dead hang pull-ups. If I can do one, I'm doing okay, right? So I think it's reframing a lot of that.
Yeah, what's progress? What's progress?
It is, and that's where I was going to go to when you were talking about your run. You get back and you're like, oh, that fucking sucked. I'm terrible. Da da da. Have you ever seen those big like domino competitions where they set up like thousands of dominoes on the floor of this lobby or whatever? And you click one domino and then like a flower blooms, or there's this giant mural that reveals itself as the dominoes fall over. Well, every time you go out on a 10-mile run like that and you think you fucking suck, dude, you're stacking a domino. One domino at a time, you're stacking that. And eventually here in September, when you go run your race, you're going to flick over that first one. When that start gun goes off, you're going to flick that first domino and then the flower's going to bloom. And all of that hard work and pain that you went through the summer is going to come out on race day.
That's right.
Yeah. Woo.
All right. Embrace the suck.
I
All
have no
right.
questions.
Number 2 is you can't fix stupid.
Love it. Explain.
Well, I think this can go in a lot of different directions, right? So, you can't fix stupid for me was something that I would teach younger IPs, instructor pilots. And I want to temper this a little bit because the point of you can't fix stupid is if you think somebody's stupid, you don't just go, oh, well, you can't fix stupid, you're done, right? 98.9%, 96.9% of the dudes that you will, or gals for that matter, that you will interface with, you can train up. Like you can get to that next level. It may take some time. It may take some conversation. It may take some difficult conversations to find out maybe why they're not performing to the level that they want to perform. But there are some people who may not just be, who may not have the skill set requirements or the cognitive requirements to do what you're asking them to do, right? And we saw that in the fighter community on occasion. And, as an instructor, you want to think that you can teach anybody, but that's not the case. And they're few and far between. Most dudes will take instruction. Most dudes will slowly or rapidly increase their development and improvement. But there's some guys that you just need to be able to go, there's the line in the sand. I don't think you're capable of doing this, and there's nothing you can do to help them fix that. Now, that said, that's in a professional environment. As an instructor trying to teach somebody to do really hard things in a single seat fighter that requires a lot of, multitasking, task management, prioritization, blah, 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 blah. But this also applies to, like interpersonal relationships. You may have friends in your friend circle, or maybe somebody even that you're in a relationship with, and you're trying to go in one direction and they're fighting you tooth and nail on it. And you may come to a realization that that's just something that can't be fixed, right? Like there's some people that are just unwilling to do what needs to be done sometimes in order to get to that next step or that next level or that next phase in life. And when you recognize that, you've got to be willing to just kind of release those things, right? You got to be willing to release those people in your life, those relationships in your life, because if you don't, they're just going to hold you back. And so that's kind of where I'm going with the you can't fix stupid piece.
Yeah, and I think there's some good shit in there, man. To me, when I think of can't fix stupid, it sounds harsh, but I mean, we're kind of saying it comedically a little bit.
Well, you know where I got that from?
Ron White.
Ron White. Yeah, the comedian.
Yeah, I know that. You can't fix stupid.
I'm not an intelligent man. I steal all this shit from everybody else. So.
Well, I mean, imitation is the greatest form of flattery, right?
It is.
And a wise man says, don't recreate the wheel. Confucius or somebody like that. Yeah, so I think there's a big difference between incompetence and ignorance. Well, incompetence is one thing. Ignorance is another thing. Ignorance is an absence of knowledge, and I can fix that, right? It may take you a couple of X rides, but I can get you there, right? If you bring a good attitude and you pay attention and you give the effort, then I can get you there. And I experience this coaching football all the time, dude. Like at the junior high level, our junior varsity level, we were teaching some complex concepts. Bless you. But some of those kids could not.
Yeah,
like they couldn't get their mind
around. They weren't there yet.
They can't get there. No matter how many times you diagram it on a whiteboard and you do walkthroughs and simulations, they couldn't get their mind around how a 4-3 cover 2 defense is supposed to flow, right? And I mean, I'm sorry, man, if you just don't have the aptitude for it, that's something that's a little bit different than an absence of knowledge, right? So depending on what it is, it might be fixable and it might not be, unfortunately. And we both know guys who got to a certain point in their careers, usually either during or right after the B course, where they go, dude, flying fighters is not for you, man. And maybe you go to MC-12s or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And those guys go in there and they flourish.
Yeah.
Okay,
They do well in career aircraft.
that's right. They just weren't cut out for pointy nose airplanes, and that's fine, man. And usually that comes down to an inability, not like a viscous reaction, and just being resistant to it. Like, no, cat, like Francis, and you teaching him the air-to-air game plan, the new air-to-air game plan, right? And Francis going, nope, not going to do it. Nope, not that. See, that's viscosity. That's resistance to flow. That's resistance to change, right? And that's a little bit different. That's almost like a whole separate discussion, right?
Yeah.
But if it is a lack of knowledge, man, I can get you there. It may take us a while, but I can get you there. A lack of ability is a different story. And even in, personal, professional, or personal relationships, right? If you have a person who is unwilling to change, that's where this falls in for me. Like, and you can exchange the word stupid for a number of different words, but man, I can't fix that. If you're unwilling to meet me halfway, or to at least engage in a conversation about it, then I can't do anything about that, man, because I can only control the things that I can control, and I can lead by example, and I can say and do the right things. But if you're not willing to open your aperture and come along with me, then, I mean, that's on you, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah. And it applies to us as individuals too, right? Like, so, I couldn't be a doctor, not because I don't have the aptitude for it, or I couldn't understand biology, but like the idea of cutting somebody open, I would be the first fucking person on the floor, right? So,
okay,
some of
wait
that
a minute.
too.
I just had a flash. I had a flash of you and then me being doctors, and I could not do it because I'd get fired for bedside manner.
Yeah, you would. That's very true.
All right, listen, motherfucker. Like, you got to stop eating biscuits and gravy, man.
Yeah, Golden Corral is off your list of places to go to.
Hey, heresy.
Yeah, not really. Like, so some of that too is like, apply it to yourself, right? Like, dude, if you think that you're going to be some guru of business and you can't do statistics and math, business may not be the path for you, right? Like, if you want to be a fighter pilot and you can't multitask,
this is why they do. This is why they do the TBAT.
And so my point
is to test your hand-eye coordination, things like that.
Yeah, and my point in all that is like, dude, figure out figure out what your skills are and what you're good at, and whatever that is, then find something that highlights those skills. Find a job or an industry that highlights what you're good at, and move in that direction. That's going to give you a good path, right? Like that's going to give you fruit to your labor. That's going to give you an opportunity to move up that scale and that chain, and to make good money, and to be a good provider, and to have a lifestyle that you want to have, right? So some of that too is like understanding. It's that self-inspection piece we talk about. It's that reflective piece we talk about, where you understand, okay, here's my shortcomings, here's my weaknesses. Now, some of those things can be overcome, like you're saying. If it's not a cognitive issue, it's just I don't understand this issue, then go figure out how to fucking understand it, if that's what you want to do, right?
Seek a mentor, do some research,
by the way,
book.
By the way, embrace the fucking suck while you do it, because it's going to suck. Like, we can overcome those obstacles. But if there's things that you know about yourself, like, I don't like needles, so I probably am not going to be somebody who works in a lab drawing blood, that's probably good to know, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
but that's the rub, Cass, is like, let's for people our age, let's say middle age and beyond, who have had years of experience in trying things out. This is an easy conversation for that person.
It is, but dude, we've talked about this.
If you're a 21-year-old, who's halfway through a college degree, and you realize, man, I don't really like this. This is
pivot.
This is dumb. Well, but that's my point, right? That's the rub of the whole thing, is in order to find the things that you're good at and develop the skills around your talents and the things that you're passionate about, a lot of times you have to try things.
Yes.
And that's gonna come with some failures. Some disappointments.
Yep.
And
absolutely,
and some depression. And that goes back to rule number 1, embrace the suck, right? Yeah. So it's the self-licking ice cream cone of doom, right?
Well, it is, because you're absolutely right, dude. Like, if you're young and you don't know, go try stuff.
Yeah.
right? That's the
Don't be
only way you're going to
surprised when it
figure it out.
sucks and you fail at it.
Like, and we've said this before, sometimes knowing what you don't want to do is just as important as knowing what you do want to do. So eliminating things off of the list as you try things is a valid exercise. And oh, by the way, when you're young, that's what you're supposed to do, right? Figure it the fuck out. Because that time's finite. And so, yeah, go try stuff. And if it doesn't work, that's fine, man. There's other opportunities in front of you. You'll be able to create other opportunities for yourself. Just keep moving in a direction, right? Just keep moving forward and trying different things out and see what fits, what sticks, what resonates with you. Because that's where you're going to find that happy spot, right? And it's rule number one. It's embrace the suck. It's gonna suck while you're doing it, right? When you go, hey, I think I want to be a welder, and you go to welding school, and you're like, yeah, this isn't fucking for me. Like I keep burning my fingers or whatever, right? Like I just don't. This isn't
I'm
it, right?
claustrophobic. I can't wear the helmet. Yeah.
Yeah, like you don't know. Sometimes you don't know until you try it, but try it. Because eliminating those things lets you know that that's off the list. And there's other things that you can go pursue. But yeah, be reflective in that too, because that you can't fix stupid isn't just an external thing, like where, yeah, Roscoe's a dumbass. I can't teach him anything anymore.
That is valid. Yep.
He's old in his spot and he's just going to be what he's going to be. Sometimes it's us too, right? Like we have to look at ourselves and go, am I the fucking thing that can't be fixed? Like, am I the stupid right now? And go to task on that stuff, right? And figure out what you have to do to improve that skill set, or maybe recognize, which this would be a hard conversation with yourself to recognize that, dude, I'm not cut out for this. Like, this isn't what I want to do. Like, this isn't my wheelhouse. And pivot. Like, I think we're so afraid in this, especially for, I think, younger kids, boys and girls, who maybe go to school, go to university, they get a degree in business or journalism or whatever, and they go into the business world and they get there and they're just like, this is not at all what I thought it was going to be, right? Like, this is not for me. But, they just spent a ton of money, $150,000 or whatever of their own money or mom and dad's money, and they're so afraid of making a switch because they're like, well, I've already invested this much, and so this should work, right? And so I'm just going to keep trying to nug through this path, or mom and dad just spent all this money. I don't want to let them down. So, dude, pivot. Like, try something else. Make that change. Find out what you're good at and find out what requires those skills and move in that direction. If you do that, you'll find some happiness in it, I think.
Dude, so we were in church this weekend, and it's funny that this conversation has taken this turn because as I'm listening to the pastor talk about what he's talking about, the whole time I'm sitting here thinking, like, you can take out that word salvation and put in success, and this whole thing is the same thing, right? And so he's talking about the book of James back in the towards the end of the New Testament, and it talks about you have to be patient, you have to trust the process. You can expect failure along the way. You can expect disappointment along the way. And I'm sitting here going, and he's talking about obviously salvation and getting to heaven and things like that. And I'm sitting here going, okay, take out the word salvation, put in the word success, and the whole conversation is the same, right? So even if you need inspiration, go read the Bible, and that stuff is in there. Okay, so the conversation around fixing someone else, I think, is easier to have than the conversation about fixing yourself.
Yes.
Because I don't think that many people, myself included, it's very difficult to look at yourself with a critical eye. It's much easier to look at someone else and go, well, her hairdo's stupid. I mean, look at Cass, the way he parts his fucking hair. That's dumb, right? And then I look at my hair in the mirror and I go, yeah, mine's kind of dumb too. I don't even have a part. so I think that takes a lot of practice, right? And when we're talking about fixing something, how do we do that? Well, I mean, you got to try stuff, right? And oftentimes those solutions come with, I mean, it's like banging your, I mean, how many people did you know? I knew several who got all the way through their college and through OTS or the academies or whatever, and get all the way to flight school, and then they found out they got motion sick, and they get bounced, and they end up as intel officers. Because no matter how many times they put them in that spinny fucking chair of death, they couldn't overcome it, right?
Yeah.
That's a limitation. That's not stupid. That's a limitation that prevents you from doing something that you really, really, really want to do.
Or you've got a kid poteet who has that issue and throws up in his mask on every sortie, but finds a way
You push through it
to figure it out and push through, because that overarching goal for him was so important. And he had the skill set to do it, aside from puking, that he found a way, right? And you want to talk about embrace the suck. I'm here to tell listeners I've never thrown up in my mask, but I could imagine that if I ever did, that's about as bad as suck can get in a fighter.
Yeah.
Is having a face full of fucking puke, a face mask full of fucking puke for an hour and a half sortie.
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah.
So
right?
I used to get nosebleeds really bad. I have a deviated septum, and before I got the surgery for it, I used to get nosebleeds super bad in my mask, and I always flew with like half a roll of paper towels in my helmet bag, and I had this really gnarly, nasty handkerchief that was always stuffed in my G suit in case I forgot the paper towels or whatever. And gosh, I mean, I've come back to the life support, and my helmet was like full of dried blood.
Yeah.
It's fucking my whole face, man. I look like a murder victim.
Yeah,
my
life
whole
support,
face.
I'm sure love that.
God, well, I didn't make them clean it. I cleaned it myself.
Thank
I'm not
God
that big
you didn't have a fucking Fu Manchu back then.
Yeah, the flavor saver. Yeah. Gosh, man, I feel like that could have gone. I feel like that conversation could have been a whole episode on its own. You know, and it's unfortunate for the young people too, because those people who are not privy to an environment like we were, where you're sort of exposed and you're pushed way out of your comfort zone every day. These guys are left to find it out on their own, and a lot of times it's very difficult, and it takes a tremendous amount of self-discipline, self-motivation to do it. And so I was watching this video the other day on YouTube, and this former Navy SEAL instructor was talking about how he used to get people to quit in buds, right? And so everybody that goes to buds, super fired up, super jacked, like rugby
motivated,
players,
dedicated,
Olympic level polo swimmers. Like, these guys are like, physically, this is not the problem, right? It's mentally that they break eventually. And if you ask every one of them to a man, every one of them will say, no, I never had any intention of quitting. And he found, because after somebody goes up and rings the bell, they put their helmet down, they take them and they buy them a pizza, and they get them all nice and warm and clean and everything. And then they sit and they have a conversation with them and say, why did you quit? Did you come here with the intention of quitting? No. What happened? And they said, look, I couldn't get past, mentally, I couldn't get past the idea that this wouldn't end. Like, whatever evolution they were on, getting wet and sandy, or running down the beach, or carrying the boat, or whatever, they couldn't get past the idea that it wouldn't end, right? And the instructors, they learned to use that as a weapon against these kids, to learn how to try to break them. And they would say things like, you know, during Hell Week, they would set their watches a day behind, so that, or a day ahead, so that they thought it was Wednesday when it was really like Monday night or something. They would say things like, how you feeling, man? You know, they try to be all buddy with them. How you feeling? Oh, I'm tired, wet, and hungry, Sergeant or Sir or whatever. Oh, well, good. Well, you know, at least you only have like 96 hours of this left. You know, and they would make it so big that the kids couldn't get their mind around it, right?
Yeah.
What's the antidote to that? The antidote is keep that shit 6 inches in front of your face, man.
That's right.
And that's with every goal and every bit of planning and process that we talk about on here, is keep it 6 inches in front of your face. Front sight focus, man. Keep it near, keep it close, right? And your goal could be, a year away, 2 years away, 4 years away if you're going to college, right? But you don't focus on that. You focus on homework today,
Yeah.
right? And you
Yeah.
focus on making a good grade on the next exam, and that leads to a good midterm, and that leads to a good final grade. Whew, semester over, start again, do it again. Put together 8 of those, boom, college degree.
Well, this is a guy I've been trying to get on the podcast for a bit, and hopefully it'll work out. But there's a SEAL that I met when I was stationed at PACOM in Oahu, and Hell Week. They're going through, and like in the last 24 hours, dude, he was so dehydrated, so broken down,
Hallucinations.
that his body started failing.
Yeah.
And they scooped him up, took him to the emergency room, pumped him full of fluids, blah, 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 blah. And the instructors came in the next morning, and he's sitting there going, dude, I made it to the last 24 hours of Hell Week, and they're going to tell me that I'm out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And come back and try it again, right? Go through all that shit again. And he's laying there. They walk in, they start talking to him. And he's just going, dude, fuck. Like, I know what they're going to tell me. I didn't finish Hell Week. And they looked at him and they go, dude, you pushed yourself to the point that your body started to shut down. Like, you had nothing else to give. Welcome to the SEALs.
Nice.
Welcome to the SEALs, right? Like, he didn't finish Hell Week. Like, they carted him off the sand at, I don't know, a certain time prior to Hell Week being finished. But that's not what they're looking like. And it was that determination. It was, you know what? I'm going to push myself to the point where I physically cannot go any farther. My body's going to shut down before I stop moving forward, right? That's that mentality we're looking for.
Well, and if you really want a good motivational read, man, something that'll 100% proven positively get your ass up off the couch, go get the book Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. And you can say what you will about Goggins. Some people love him, some people hate him, right? I happen to like the guy for this reason. And I will suggest that you, instead of getting the written book, the hard copy, get the audio book, because he's got a guy narrating the book, and then in between chapters they stop and it's like a podcast in the middle of the book. He interviews him and they have a conversation about it. Like, well, why? Give us more. Really just phenomenal stuff. And his story was well, first of all, he had to lose like 100 and something pounds just to get a Navy contract. That wasn't even a guaranteed track to BUD/S. That was just to get into the Navy, right? And then he had to get to BUD/S, and he failed Hell Week twice. So on his third Hell Week, he had fractures in his legs, in his tibias and fibias. And every morning he would put on these long wool boot socks and wrap his feet from ankle to kneecap in duct tape to keep his legs held together to get him through Hell Week. And, like on an everyday, normal, everyday people at our level, like, we're not wrapping our legs in duct tape to go out running one day. If my legs are that hurting that bad, I'm taking an ice bath and I'm taking a chill day, right? But the mentality of how they overcame some of these obstacles, we can feed on that and we can learn from that, right? And we can say, okay, now let's take that, instead of on this scale, like what they were doing, like literally pushing your body to the brink of death. We're not doing that on a daily basis. All we're doing is talking about running 13 miles, okay? But we can break it down into the same structure that they're using and learn a lot from these people.
Yeah, well, it's the same mindset, right? Like, when you don't want to get up and work out in week 5 because you're not seeing gains and you're sore and it's 4:00 in the morning, and it'd be nice to hit the snooze button and get 2 more hours of sleep versus going to the gym. What do? Right? That's the mindset.
Well, discipline's a choice.
It is.
It always comes down to discipline is a choice. And one rest day, one skip day, probably not that big a deal. 2, now you're starting to develop a trend. And I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and tell you that I never do that. Fuck yeah, dude. I do. I mean, my July tracker board over here was not as awesome as I wanted it to be. I had some good things in there, and I pushed some things that made me really sore and that made me want to take a down day. So yeah, I mean, even as motivated as I am to complete my goals, I fail at this a lot of times, and it's hard.
It's hard.
It's hard, and but psychologically, I know how I can combat that. I've developed these tricks and techniques on how to beat that. And I was telling you beforehand, when I'm feeling unmotivated, I'm tired, and I just don't want to go do it. I throw on a video on YouTube of somebody going out and doing some really hard shit, like run the Leadville 100 or do the CrossFit Championship or something like that. And that usually kind of perks me up and gets me motivated. And I go, okay, fine, I'll put my fucking shoes on.
Yeah. All right. So that's Can't Fix Stupid. The last one is Never Go Full Retard.
Never go
I know
full
we're not
retard.
supposed to say retard, and I mean
it's
it in
coming
the
back.
Tropic Thunder sense, but yeah, dude, never go full retard. So here's the context I'll put it in, because this is what I used to tell young women. Is so for those that aren't exposed to the military, and I don't know if it's the same now, but at least when you and I were punks, lieutenants in a fighter squadron, you could do some stupid stuff and get away with it, right? Like you could do some things and it wouldn't follow you for the rest of your career. But my point was always, dude, like never go full retard. So like in a professional setting, if you like to drink and the company's having a Christmas party, either don't go or take somebody with you that's going to keep you in check, right? Like have a hand receipt that's going to go with you and make sure that you don't get so fucking crazy or so blotto that you do something so stupid that it's going to reflect poorly on you for the rest of your career at that company, or something that's going to follow you. Like you can push it up, you can have fun, but you never want to cross that line where you flip the switch from this is acceptable to, okay, we're in unacceptable territory now, whether it's behavior or, whatever the case may be. You have to stay measured. You have to recognize what's acceptable and what's not, what the limitations are and what they're not. And you've got to operate within those boundaries. And if you're not capable of doing that, then you need to make sure that you stay out of situations and environments where that will be exposed.
Vegas. Roscoe's rules to surviving Vegas. All right. Nothing good happens in Vegas after midnight. That's quantifiable and measurable.
That's very true.
And proven. Nothing good in Vegas happens after midnight. Never gamble on the strip. I've bought $100 Bud Light before, and it sucks. And if she comes up to you and she's talking to you, she's a hooker. If you stick to those three, then you can have a really fun Vegas experience.
Yes.
Right. And it kind of goes along with what you're saying, right? Is like play within the boundaries.
Yeah.
And know the rules. Okay.
Yeah.
And like I remember when the kids were starting to get up and they would want to start to have some drinks with us and whatnot on the weekends. And I remember telling them, I was like, look, man, like we've all been there, and I'm not going to be the hypocrite that sits here and preaches about don't do this. Through experience, I've learned like there are rules to going out and drinking with the bros, right? Always have a wingman. Never forget where you are, right? And always have a backup plan.
Yeah.
And I remember we were at my mom's house, and my dad started giving my middle kid shots of Fireball about halfway through the afternoon, right? And of course, I mean, he's just like sucking on. I'm drinking with granddaddy. This is great, right? And yeah, it comes like 9:00, and he's sitting on the back porch, and he was at a point where I don't think he knew where he was. And you know what? He kept yelling at me. He kept looking at me and he goes, I still know my name. I still know my name. I'm okay. Give me another one. It's like, no, dude, you're done. Right. Excuse me. So yeah, I agree, man. Society's boundaries, society's rules, not Roscoe's rules or CAS's rules, but I think generally speaking, we know right from wrong. We know what's acceptable and what's not. And as long as we play within those things, keep it between the ditches, I think you're okay, man. When you start to overstep and show off for your friends or let your ego take control or try to be the class clown or something like that, that's usually where this gets fucked up. You okay?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, and I think that a lot of times, especially when we're younger, we don't take the time to understand or recognize what those boundaries are. And we may be caught up in things like here's a great story that I'll use. So a guy I know, good friend of mine, doing really well in the Air Force, brand new major, gets brought on to be like an aide to a general, right? And this is like in the Air Force, this was like a stepping stone to being on the fast track for him. And great dude, awesome guy, squared away, and they go to Vegas, they go to Nellis, and weapons school graduate. I think they were at a patch night, which is where weapons officers who are graduating the program get their patch. And he starts drinking. He's having fun, no big deal, right? And bumps into some guys that he thought highly of, that were well respected, that are kind of icons at the weapons school, that are retired like 2-star generals, and ends up going out with these guys. They wrap him up, party all night. Well, they're leaving Vegas at like 6:00 in the morning. The general's leaving Vegas on his little C9 or whatever, his little Learjet thing, to go off to wherever they're going at like 6:00 in the morning. Well, it's 4:30 in the morning, and he's getting back to the queue room. And he shows up, and, he's still drunk. He hasn't slept. He's a mess, and the general's looking at him, and he's like, what's the deal, dude? Like, what's going on, And the 2-star that he had been out with all night was seeing the general off. And he's like, oh, we took him out. It's no big deal. And he goes, well, he's not your aide.
Oops.
Right?
Yeah.
And so there's the difference, right? Like, you have to know where those boundaries are. You have to understand whether, whatever organization you're in, whatever social circle you're in, you've got to understand what those boundaries are. And dude, that crushed him. It was never the same after that. And it hurt his career. I'll be honest with you. It hurt his career. And so my point in that is just, yeah, guys, like, be smart about things, right? Like, especially in a professional environment, when you have parties or social circles, things people were, we get together, let's go have a few drinks. Like, keep yourself in control. Know what your limits are. If you're a 2-drink kind of guy at the bar, then 2 drinks is the max, right?
Yeah.
Know if you've drank too much to drive, and get a fucking Uber. It's too easy these days. Pay the $30 to Uber. Don't get pulled over and get a DUI, right? Like, there's so many things that go into this, from a professional standpoint, from just a social standpoint, relationship standpoint, right? Like, just, you've got to know your limits and your boundaries. You have to understand those things about yourself and set yourself up for success. You don't want to be the cat who, is the guy that everybody knows. Oh, well, if we have a party, Roscoe's going to be fucking wild dingo by 9:00, and we've got
Frank
to have
the Tank.
Yeah, right. Like, there's just understand that and it varies place to place, but there's limits, right? And there's things that are acceptable and things that are not, and make sure that you operate within those boundaries.
Well, and
because once you go simple Jack, dude, there's no going back.
You end up working for a meth lab in the middle of Colombia or wherever the hell they were, Laos. Excuse me. Well, let's take this to something that doesn't involve alcohol and drugs, and let's say, all right, let's go back to my example of, my exercise plan. If I went into my gym right now and strapped on 300 pounds onto that bar and tried to back squat it, that's the equivalent of going full retard.
Yeah,
for
you'd
Roscoe.
wreck yourself.
Because I would break my back. I would literally break myself in half. Like I'm not there yet. Now, if it's something that I want to work up to, there's a process for it, right? But knowing your limitations, and purposely pushing yourself out of your comfort zone to reach a goal is not the same as just jumping right in with both feet. Now, I do think that there are some times in some places when it's okay to jump. When I hiked up to the top of the waterfall in Hawaii, one opportunity, like I might not ever come back to Hawaii. By God, YOLO, man, I'm jumping off this bitch, right? Now, what if there was a big ass rock in the middle of that thing that I couldn't see because the water was muddy? Well, no more Roscoe. I break both my legs and my cranium on it.
Yeah,
So
sure.
you could absolutely look at that and go, hey, man, you went full retard. But I think I think there's so many ways that you could skin this, and it really comes down to knowing your limitations and purposely pushing out of your comfort zone rather than biting off too much more than you can chew, or blindly trying to outdo the person next to you.
Yeah.
When you don't have the skills necessarily to do it. And I mean, this reference, like Never Go Full Retard, that comes from Tropic Thunder. And what was the whole point behind that, right? Robert Downey Jr.'s character was trying to explain, I am Sam, Forrest Gump, look retarded, act retarded, not retarded, right? You, Simple Jack, you went full retard. Like you crossed that line. You went so far over that people just looked at it as a comedy instead of a serious drama like Forrest Gump or I Am Sam, right? And that's kind of the analogy that we're using here, right? Is there's a time and a place, and that was neither the time nor the place.
Yeah, well, and I think more fundamentally too, dude, it goes back to operate in your value system, right? So if your value system is such that there are certain things you shouldn't be doing, don't do those things, right? Like if you show up at work or in your own social circles or in relationships, and you present a certain aspect of yourself, and then in other scenarios or other situations, you go 180 out from that, like that's full retard, right? Like that's going to make people go, well, wait, he says this, that, and that over here, but then when we go over here, it's a completely different person, and it's completely incongruent, and the two don't match. And so who are we really dealing with, right? And so it goes back to your value system. You can't profess that you're a godly, dedicated Christian man and then get caught with a trans hooker in a foreign country. I mean, it's just those two things don't match, right? So either embrace who you really are and operate in that, and that those are your boundaries and that's where you're at and that's who you want to be, or figure out a way to temper yourself and have discipline enough to not do the things that you're not supposed to do based on who you profess to be, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the bottom line of it.
And I like what you say there, man. And I'm not going to sit here and profess, my belief system or try to proselytize to anyone. But I do like the messaging that comes out when we go to our services. Our preacher is, I mean, he's one of us, man. He's our age. He grew up in the same times. He's got the same pop culture references, and he's like you and I. He's straddled that line between analog and digital, and so he's kind of been there and done that, and he's seen it and everything. And the way that he talks to the congregation in a lot of ways is like, it's cool to come in here on Sunday mornings, man, and receive this, and take your Bible and make notes in the margins and highlight things and sing and do all that stuff, right? But do you do that same thing on Monday? And do you do the same thing on Tuesday, right? And we don't want just Sunday morning Christians. We want 7 day a week Christians. And that's kind of what you and I are talking about, right? Is like, I mean, take out the word Christian and just say good dudes, right? Like it's one thing to be able to do this once. It's quite another thing to be able to try to do it every day, right? And every morning you wake up is a blank slate. Every night when you go to bed, you get to debrief, make some notes. And then when that alarm clock goes off the next morning, man, you got another chance. It's like you shook when you were sleeping, you shook the Etch-a-Sketch and it's blank.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, add value. And if you do overstep it one time or you do cross that line, like the best thing that you can do is make amends and not pretend like it didn't happen. Like make the apologies, go talk to the people you need to talk to and go, hey, sorry, that was over the top, out of line. I shouldn't have done that. That was my bad. It'll never happen again. That will go way further than walking in the next day and pretending like nothing happened.
That sounds an awful lot like you're saying own your mistakes.
Yeah, accountability.
Yeah, exactly. Cool, man. I wanted to tell this one story as we kind of wrap up here after we started with no topic and we ended up going an hour and 10. That's impressive.
Yes.
Lee Terrible. But I wrote this note down when we were talking about Can't Fix Stupid. And I don't know why, but this is a fun story, right? And we were talking about ability versus competence and knowledge or lack thereof, and kind of that balance in all things. And my first season coaching football, right? I was not good. I was not prepared for the level of responsibility that took. I over the course of the summer, the guy who ran the league wore me down and got me to volunteer as an assistant, because I was still in a fighter squadron, dude, and the schedules there are so off, left and right, that I couldn't commit to it. And when I commit to something like that, I like to be able to give it the attention it deserves. And I kept telling him no. And finally I said, all right, dude, I will come on as the last assistant coach. I'll be the dad out there that just holds the bag and fetches footballs, right? So I met with the air quotes head coach a few days before the season. I was like, all right, man, so like, what's your plan? What are we doing? What you got going on for the first practice? Oh, well, I don't know, man. I guess we'll go out there and just, I was like, stop, dude. No. All right. And I took out a folder and I had a practice plan that I had written. I copied it off the internet, but I had written it. And, hey, imitation's the greatest form of flattery, right?
Put your initials on it.
Work smarter, not harder, bro.
Yeah,
like
right.
This is not cosmic. Fucking hit print and move on. So and I wasn't there to upstage the dude or anything. But it was clear that he was out of his element a little bit, and he was doing it. Honestly, he finally told me that he was there for the EPR bullet. And that's when I kind of knew, okay, dude, you're here for the wrong reasons. This is going to be a terrible experience. And I started giving it a little more energy. And I'll be damned, dude, the first fucking game. Oh, actually, sorry. It was the second game. The first game we played, we lost. We got our ass kicked. The second game, every single coach. There were 7 coaches on this team. I was one of them. Every one of them ghosted the second game. And I was there on the sidelines by myself with one of my kids helping me keep track. Because we had to do minimum plays for all the players. Like every player had to play at least 3 plays in each half, or whatever it was, 3 or 5, something like that. And so he's over there, Nikki's over there with a clipboard checking off every time I made a substitution. And he's telling me, he's like, Dad, you got to get this kid in the game. You got to play him. You got to play him at least once. And at the 2-minute warning for each half, the referee stopped the game and go to each head coach and go, have all your players played? Have all your players played? If not, you got to put them in right now. Like, I don't care if you're on the 0-yard line and you're about to score.
Yeah.
Little Johnny has to get his reps, right?
Yeah.
Well, the season ended up like you would imagine. All right. It was not awesome. I harbored a lot of resentment towards the other coaches for putting me in that position. I tried to do the best I could, but I was not prepared for that. So I had this one little kid, and I can't remember his name. I want to call him Wesley for some reason. No. It wasn't Wesley. It was Mason. I had this little kid, Mason, right? Little fat kid, little short. Like, you could just tell, like, this kid was out here because his dad made him come. But he was the funniest little kid, right? And he was one of those kids that he was a men play kid. He got his 3 plays per half, and he was happy to get the cake at the end of the season.
Yeah.
All right. And his little medal or whatever he got. Well, Mason, every day before practice, Mason would come up to me. Hey, coach, can I be a wide receiver? Can I be a wide receiver, coach? I want to be a wide receiver. And I'd put my arm around him. I can't tell you how many times I told this kid this, like, Mason, everybody has a talent, bro. Now, we're going to find yours by process of elimination. But I can tell you positively, you are not a receiver.
It's not a wide receiver.
And we would go out there and, like 10 minutes before practice, he would always want me to go and throw the football with him. And he would go out there and he'd do his best to run routes, and I'd throw passes to him and stuff. And I'd use the quarterback to warm up his arms and throw it to Wesley or to Mason out there. And he was having fun, whatnot. And I told him one time early in the season, like maybe game 3 or 4, I said, Mason, if we're up a couple of touchdowns and we have a chance in the last game, I will put you in, and I'll be damned. Last fucking game, we're up by like 3 touches, and there's like 2 minutes left in the game, and he comes and stands right beside. He didn't even say anything. He just come and stood right beside me. I was like, "You little son of a bitch! All right, get out there." And I called the quarterback over, and I said, "Throw this ball to him and hit him right in the chest, so that he has no excuses." Right? And he didn't even have to run. All he had to do was take one step.
A slant.
It was just a quick pass. All he had to do was take one step and stop and turn towards the quarterback. And the quarterback knew he's taking one stop. All I got to do is aim for the yard line, 10 yards that way. And Caleb was the quarterback. Caleb threw this pass, and it was beautiful, man. It was about to hit him right in the face mask, and I'll be damned, Mason fucking caught it and went straight to the ground. He made us a half a yard on the play. But it was, you know what, man?
Epic.
I mean,
yeah,
dude, of all the things that happened that season, all the arguments with parents, and I had a dad come up and chest bump me after a game and said, "You come here, boy, we're about to have a talk." I mean, like, it was heated, bro. It was not a good season. Great learning experience for me. But that moment, watching Mason catch that fucking football and the smile on his face, man. Go back to what prompted all that. You can't fix stupid. Inability, lack of knowledge. Like, if you're the guy that gets motion sick and you get stuck in flight school, like, flying jets might not be for you, man. And Mason was a short little fat roly-poly. He was as wide as he was tall. Probably not going to be the next, Ocho Cinco.
Yeah.
Right. But what did he do, man? He came out there every day with a good attitude. He ran the routes with the receivers, so he knew when I put him in for that play and said, "You're doing a quick pass," he knew exactly what to do, right? So we built up his knowledge base. Now, the ability wasn't there. He wasn't going to go and run a deep post over the middle, but that little quick pass, he fucking caught it, man, and made his day. Yeah,
that's cool.
So I thought that was a fun little pick me up for the end there. And sorry, it ended up being a 7.5 minute story, but that was good. Cool. What else you got, man? Those are 3 pretty good rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still use them.
Anything else?
Be the change.
All right. Be the one. Thanks for flying with the Be One Change One podcast. If you got something out of this show, then be the one and share it in your circles of influence.
You can be our wingman through our website at www.be1change1.com. That's B and the number 1, change and the number 1.com.
We invite you to be the one and join our fighter squadron on social media at Be1Change1 on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. You can follow us at Paul Roscoe White on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, as well as Roscoe's website, www.paulroscoewhite.com.
You can email us from the website, and please leave comments, share, and ask questions, or leave ideas of things you would like to discuss on future podcasts. Most importantly, be the one that helps us win the algorithm by leaving a review on whatever platform you're listening on.
Thanks for joining. Until next time, be the one.